Collier-Wise.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Holland.
Here.
Humphrey.
Here.
Mines.
Here.
Price.
Here.
Sorensen.
Here.
Ward.
Here.
Mayor Powell.
Here.
Student Representative Ireland.
Here.
Would everyone please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we have minutes from October 3rd special meeting and October 3rd regular meeting.
Move approval. Second.
Motion is second to approve the minutes of both times. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next, we have adoption of the agenda. John or Mike, do you know of any changes or alterations? Okay.
Move approval of the agenda. Second.
Motion is second to approve the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Under visitors to be heard, persons addressing the council shall use the microphone at the podium. Please raise your hand to be recognized, go to the podium, and state your name and address. For items that are not on the agenda, members of the public may speak under visitors to be heard on any topic not on the agenda. Remarks are limited to 5 minutes and no decision will be made at this time. For agenda items, public testimony will be taken at the beginning of each agenda item after the subject has been announced by the mayor and explained by staff. Any citizen who wishes may speak one time for 5 minutes on each agenda item. Public testimony will then be closed and the topic will be given to the governing body for possible action. At this point, only city council members and staff may discuss the current agenda unless a council member moves to allow another person to speak and there is unanimous consent from the council. Questions from council members, however, may be directed to staff or a member of the public through the presiding officer at any time. At this point, we have a proclamation, extra 10-mile proclamation, and Kelsey, if you would read that, please.
Proclamation recognizing November 1st, 2016 as Extra Mile Day. Whereas the city of Vermillion, South Dakota is a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas the city of Vermillion, South Dakota is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas the city of Vermillion, South Dakota is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within its community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas the city of Vermillion, South Dakota acknowledges the mission of Extra Mile America to create 550-plus extra mile cities in America and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2016. Now, therefore, we, the governing body of the city of Vermillion, South Dakota, do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2016 to be Extra Mile Day and urge each individual in the community to take time on this day not only to go the extra mile in his or her own life, but to acknowledge all those who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, families, community, country, or world a better place. Dated in Vermillion, South Dakota, the 17th day of October, 2016.
Thank you very much. Now, is there anyone in the audience that has any item that is not on the agenda? Anything they would like to discuss that is not on the agenda? Anyone at all? Seeing none, is there anyone on the council that has anything that they'd like to bring up at this point? Seeing none, then we'll move on to public hearings. Item A is the first reading of Ordinance 1348, zone change to exclude from NRC Natural Resource Conservation District and include in the High Heavy Industrial District the following described real property: Hicus Tract 2, southeast quarter of the southeast quarter,
Excluding.
What's that?
Excluding.
Excluding, thank you. Hicus Edition 79251, 5th Prime Meridian, Clay County, South Dakota. And Lot 1, Block 1, Hicus Edition, City of Vermillion, Clay County, South Dakota. Jose, please.
Thank you. Mr. Nate Welch, on behalf of the VCDC, has approached the city a couple of weeks ago and asked for the area known as Hikers Tract 2, colloquially known as Hikers Tract 2, to be rezoned. This area, as on the drawing, shows Hikers Tract 2 and Lot 1, Block 1, which would be in this in the northeast corner of the tract, to be rezoned from NRC to high-level industry, heavy industry, sorry. Right now, the portion south of 317, which would be right here, this area in green, is actually zone already heavy industry. Everything else that you see on earth tones is actually outside of city limits, so it would be in the county. So as you can see, the majority of this proper area around there, with the exception of Mr. Hikes' farmstead, would be within the heavy industry zoning already. This parcel of land, Hikers Tract 2, has already been, it's actually within the Governor's Office of Economic Development as a certified ready site by the Governor. This parcel of land was annexed into the city in 2010. And as such, when property gets annexed into the city, it automatically enters the NRC district, which is the most restrictive zoning district within the city. After that, the applicant or the person that annexed or wanted this parcel to be annexed has a certain amount of time to rezone the property accordingly. For some reason or another, it was never rezoned, so now we're rezoning it. And at the same time, the rezoning would facilitate any possible industry coming into this site, considering that it's now a certified ready site, for that to be a little bit more, the process to be expedited, that even more so. The Planning Commission considered this amendment on October 11th. At that meeting, they recommended unanimously approval of the zone change. The only cost for this right now is the required legal notifications. With all that being said, administration recommends approval of the first reading of ordinance 1348.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this topic? Anyone wish to speak on this topic? I'll turn it to the council. A motion and a second to approve first reading of ordinance 1348. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item B is the first reading of ordinance 1349, zone change to exclude from R2 residential district and include in the state plan development district the following real property. Lot G2 except for 110.9 feet of the south, 198.914 feet thereof, except lot 1, lot G2, all in the southwest quarter, the southeast quarter, the northeast quarter, and the southeast quarter, the southeast quarter, the northeast quarter. Section 18, Township 92, north of range 51.51, west of the 5th Farm Green, City of Vermillion, Clay County, South Dakota. Fairly good on that. Jose, please.
Thank you. Earlier this year, the city was approached by APS Investment LLC to see what would be possible to construct within the land north of East Cherry Street. East of East Cherry and east of North Norbeck Street. Due to the lay of the land, it would have been only possible to construct 2 fourplexes. This would have left a large portion of the land unused and made the investment of purchasing a poor choice. Due to the difficulties developing the land, APS investigated the possibility of rezoning the parcel of land from the R2 zoning district to a planned development district, or PDD. Rezoning the land to a PDD would give APS flexibility in what may be constructed in the lot, while providing the neighboring properties with an opportunity to voice their concerns about any development occurring in the area. The intent of a PDD is to provide flexibility for conventional zoning regulations with increased public review. The PDD process is used to encourage urban development by allowing a planned mix of land uses which are compatible and harmonious with the surrounding land uses, and at the same time improving communication between the city developer and the public. The PDD process consists of 2 steps. First of all, you have the initial development plan, and secondly, the final development plan. The initial development plan allows for public input during the Planning Commission meeting and during the City Council meetings. The meetings are intended to provide comments so that the zoning ordinance can be modified to match the neighborhood. The specific design elements such as drainage, fencing, access routes, etc., would be addressed through the requirements in the subdivision ordinance or during the final development plan. The Planning Commission met on October 11th to discuss this item. At that meeting, several property owners were present and brought up possible issues with the project. After hearing all of the public comments, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the zone change. I do have there it goes. This is the actual parcel of land that would be, that's intended to be rezoned. The red area there would be the Spady PDD, and that is currently zone R2. That pink area south of Spady PDD would be also R2 within the R2 district. That yellow portion would be general business, and then just directly north of the Spady PDD would be general industrial. South of the pink or the R2 district, south of Cherry, so you have green area, that's actually R3. As you can see, just by the lay of the land, there's an existing building towards Norbeck Street. That's the division. That would be the division between the yellow and the pink. It kind of just goes north-south. And there's an existing building there. And because of where that building is located, if it were to stay in the R2, then that would be one building, one fourplex, let's say. And then the property owner would have the ability, I guess, to construct another fourplex with the access for that fourplex being Cherry Street, that little leg that just goes straight south. So you have 6 acres of land and possibly 2 fourplexes. So those were kind of the issues that at first the applicant was trying to go through. McClary Engineering is a consultant working with APS to put together the PDD. The property to be included in the PDD is currently zone R2, as I mentioned. The uses permitted in the district are those that would typically be related to medium density uses. The PDD would allow the property owner flexibility with respect to how and where buildings are constructed. The plan would provide for more of a complex of duplex units with all access being off North Norbeck Street. It is important to note that although the construction allows for development of more than one multifamily unit per lot, density as proposed would be slightly more than the R2 district. The proposed density would be 36 units in almost 6 acres, as opposed to 34 units possible in an R2 zone lot of this size. With respect to the neighborhood impact, the PDD approach would be more beneficial than the traditional zoning approach. Issues such as parking, traffic, and density can all be addressed in the approval process with neighborhood input, looking at the specific area of the town. Consideration of the district regulations and initial development plan is the first step, as I mentioned earlier. The Planning Commission made a recommendation to the City Council to create the zoning district and permitted conditional uses. The initial development plan provides a broad overview of the area and gives a general idea of what would be allowed. Prior to construction of any lot, a final development plan is submitted to the Planning Commission for approval. APS obtained the required number of signatures to allow for the Planning Commission to consider the zone change. Notification signs were placed on the lot, and question and public notice was also published in the paper. The city has received several questions regarding the proposed rezone. The comprehensive plan also encourages redevelopment and investment in the community. Creating a custom zone district would allow for the optimal use of this land. The proposed use would also fit within the area and may serve as a buffer between the industrial zones to the north and the property and the single-family residences to the south of the property. All fees have been collected from the applicant. The city will incur the costs associated with any legal notices. Administration recommends approval of the first reading of Ordinance 1349. We do have a plan, I guess. Hopefully it comes up. There it goes. All right, and as I mentioned during my long diatribe, this is essentially what the applicant is proposing. This is what was presented to the Planning Commission. So right here you have the existing building in this location. That building would essentially be renovated or worked on to allow for 2 3-plexes. Those 2 3-plexes would all be providing parking and all the adequate parking, all the necessary parking, and it would be all confined to this area right here. Now, Additionally, then you would have all of these twin homes along there. There are 17 twin homes. And the parking for those twin homes would be either within the driveway, within the garage, or they would be actually 7 additional parking stalls, 2 here and 5 here. All of the utilities are being serviced through city existing utilities, and off those utilities, whether it be sewer or water, you would actually have the corresponding mains drawn through or constructed, installed through the project. Right now, for storm sewer, for drainage, the applicant, even though this is a plan, this is a very conceptual drawing. There hasn't been a lot of calculation done to it. So even though the applicant is showing 3 ponds in here, you might actually just end up with 1. You might end up with 2. You might end up with 2 big ones and a small one. There's no true. We don't truly know what's going to be needed. We do know that there's going to be something as far as drainage, but the specifics of it have not been calculated or figured out at this point. The applicant does have two outlets for the pond. You do have the possibility to tie to the DOT storm sewer along Cherry Street, and you also have, there's actually a 12-inch line that ends right there. And you also have, so the applicant also has a possibility of discharging all the drainage through that after it goes through the pond. So there's options for the applicant. As far as access, right now they're planning on either utilizing this one access with a one-way going all the way across, or possibly having 2 points here and eliminating that middle one there. So again, he has options as far as that's concerned. That would be more addressed through the planning process. Now, this here is the initial development plan. This is what the Planning Commission approved. So besides the ordinance, if the applicant wanted to change something, let's say that he wanted to, instead of twin homes, he wanted to put 4plexes all through there, well, that would actually have to go again to the Planning Commission because it's a major amendment of the initial development plan. And then again, we would have to contact all the property owners. We would have to put signs on the property and so forth, and then we would essentially start the whole process again with the Planning Commission. Now, assuming they don't change anything and they go with a final development plan, let's say just this here, then at that point, we would have to, again, put notices out on the parcel of land to be affected, and the public would again have the ability to attend these meetings and make their comments or issue their concerns and so forth. And I have been to, I think this would be the 3rd or 4th one that the city has done, and they do take, or the city has worked on, and the Planning Commission does take comments from the public very seriously. We have actually had to put a lot of, or the applicant has actually been required to put fencing, put lighting, maintain a certain amount of green space, plant trees and so forth. So seeing this initial development plan is actually, I would say, is very complete compared to some of the other ones that we have received in the past. And that's nothing necessarily, talking about McClowery. It's just the fact that we have learned, they have actually done a previous one. So whatever happened at that one, they learned, and this is what they know the Planning Commission is looking for. But that's not to say that there's not room for improvement. So I guess with all of that, I'm done for now.
Thanks, Jose. I just want to remind us all that the thing before us is a zone change. It's not an approval of this particular map.
Yeah, it's not an approval.
So if we approve this, then it would go to the persons to come up with a plan that meets the states and cities and all those codes.
The plan that they be providing would match this as far as the density and access and utilities, but
we're
that's
not
it.
approving this particular.
You're not approving this plan whatsoever.
Okay, thank you, Jose. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this topic at this time? Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this topic at this time? One more time, okay. Almost.
Got to do it. Kim McClowery Engineering, 118 West Main Street, Elk Point, South Dakota. Just like to say what the plan has here is what the developer is looking for. It ties, like Jose said, it ties very well with all of the city utilities. Everything is right there. It's ready to build on. APS, what they're looking at doing when the project is started, they'll do phase one, which will be the small, the existing structure on the east side of Norbeck Street. And that'll be reconstructed, as Jose said. And then phase two, phase three, phase four, phase five would be the construction of all of the duplexes. And it would be, you know, there might be 2 a year, 3 a year, 4 a year, depends. The market's going to drive whatever happens to the, you know, how it's built out. If there's more people wanting to rent the homes, they'll go faster. If it's slower, it may take 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. So they really don't have a deadline of saying, well, we're going to build all 17 duplexes next year. That's not the intent. Probably would flood the market. But, you know, as businesses come into town and growth happens, this will be a perfect place for young professionals, for college students, for transition housing, people moving in and then building a house and moving out. So,
Thank you.
you bet. Thank you, sir.
Excuse me.
Director, question. Could I just ask, I realize we're not going to code items yet.
Do you want to turn your mic on now?
I'm sorry. I realize we're not getting to code stuff, and that's down the road, but I'm just curious about two things. Will these structures have basements?
No.
And any kind of shelter or anything like that for
No.
severe weather?
No.
And I'm really curious about the lane of property that goes straight south to Cherry Street. It looks like a handle on a sign. You know, what's the purpose of that?
That is actually an access to Cherry Street.
Okay, so that'd be like a street eventually?
Yes, it could be. But the developer sees that, you know, it's probably best not to use the access. So who knows what might be happening? Maybe we turn it into more detention area and drain it slowly back into the DOT, or it might be sold off to adjacent landowners.
It's just a curiosity
Yeah.
of the map. So
Yeah, it's kind of an anomaly out there. And basically, when we do this, we'll have lot one, lot two will be the lot one will be the old folks home. Lot two will be the main duplex area, and lot three will have that, the access alley,
Okay.
the alleyway, or, you know,
All right, thank you very much.
street access. Sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions?
Steve?
I had a question too. Is the developer's plan to rent these homes? They're not for purchase?
You know, that's kind of up in the air. I believe it's rental, but they could be sold. The problem is I think if there's some selling involved, that now we're talking about separation lines and stuff like that, and that road will have to be crossed downstream.
So
If
it's
he's going to be
easier for
doing that'll definitely change the plan.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions? Rich?
Concerning the alleyway of the breezeway going down Cherry Street,
Yes.
it was announced at the planning and zoning that that was not intended to be used at all, and that was very agreeable with all the
Right.
people that were there,
Yep.
and encouraged not to use that
Right.
at all with the
Yep.
planning.
Yeah.
Furthermore, if I understand it, the Phase 2 and Phase 3, those units you're talking about are very similar to the ones that are on Cherry Street now.
Yes, sir.
Near the park.
Yep. Right across from the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
The one that
Troy's.
Troy Slattery
Wheeler
built.
and-
Yep.
Thank
They'll
you.
look they're exactly the same thing.
Thank you very much.
Okay, any other questions?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I've heard from enough of the neighbors that there are a few that are definitely not in favor of it. So I'm just wondering, just by rezoning it, it looks like you only gain 2 units. What would be I guess the biggest advantage for you to rezone it than just to gain 2 units?
Well,
way I'm reading
I
it
think
anyway.
the biggest part of it is it gives the city and the residents more input on from what Jose is telling me. It gives the city more input on what's going to happen out there. I guess if I may. I don't. Okay.
if it just stays the way it is right now, the only thing that would be able to happen would be the renovating of the existing structure to a fourplex. And then in this lot 2, where you see all these twin homes, then you could have another fourplex, just one more fourplex, and that fourplex access and would have to be that 60-foot easement, alleyway, whatever you want to call it, off to Cherry Street. So when we were originally talking to APS, I don't think Kim wasn't involved at that time. One of the things that they mentioned is that they couldn't make it work, financially speaking anyways, with just 2 structures of that size. They needed to have more availability, I guess, to construct more units. And that's why they started looking at the PDD process. We made it very obvious to them that even though it could be a PDD, that they weren't supposed to be coming over here and putting, 15, 24 plexes or anything of that sort. That they still have to try and match as closely as possible the density that would be achieved if this whole thing would be R2 district with access off all streets and whatever the case might be. So that's why they went to a PDD rather than staying with the R2.
Further discussion? Steve?
Jose, on the PDD, can you walk us kind of through the process of approval of a final plan again? What role do the local residents play in that? What role does the planning commission play in that? What role does the city council play?
From this point on, I'm assuming?
Yes,
All right.
if we approve today and...
Yep. From this point on, if this gets approved today, then there would be a second reading. Essentially, the 2 steps that I mentioned earlier, that initial plan and the final plan, the initial plan for all purposes would be a zone change. So during that initial plan, you're right now the first reading of the ordinance. The second reading, if it gets approved, then after that, then the applicant actually could come back with a final plan, whatever, development plan for whichever portion he wants, for either part 1, part 2, both of them, all of it, whatever. He might even split it differently. But he'll come to the city council, to the planning commission with that plan. At that meeting, we will be posting, or for that meeting, we would be posting public notice signs out on the parcel of property that would be affected. And then, the property owners, adjacent property owners would be able to attend the meeting at that time. At the meeting, the planning commission would take comments from all of the property owners that are there. They might make their own comments. They might propose changes. And whatever the planning commission says at that meeting has to occur before they can even get issued a building permit. So, and I'm just throwing stuff here. Let's say that the applicant comes in, everything gets approved. They come in with a plan for the existing structure to be constructed. At that point, they would give us a plan. We would review it. If it meets whatever they said it does, meets the ordinance that's approved today, then we send it to the planning commission. We put those there. If at the planning commissioner say, no, we want to have more trees, more lighting, fencing over here, whatever the case might be, that has to happen before they even get a building permit issued to them.
Go ahead, Steve.
So for the city council role, this is kind of our role is just to change, or what we're being asked to do is to change the
zoning ordinance.
The zoning,
Yep.
and that's it. We don't really have any other say over the development. That's all on the planning commission.
Yes. You're
Okay.
correct. Yep.
Go ahead, John.
I think the only other opportunity for the council would be if a planning commission decision was being appealed.
Yes, if there's an appeal from the planning commission, then it can come, the city council serves as the board of adjustment.
Any further questions?
I would move approval of this rezoning.
A motion and a second to approve the first reading of ordinance 1349, zone change to exclude from R2 residential, etc. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you very much. We have no old business this evening, so new business. Resolution approving an easement along 465th Avenue for a transmission line to proposed substation to be located on Lot 1, Block 1 of Hicus Edition. And Jose, please.
Thank you. As part of the city's new electric substation project, there was a need to extend the transmission line to the new substation. DGR negotiated some permanent and overhanging transmission easements for construction of the approximately 1.7 mile, 75 mile of looped 115 kV transmission line from the corner of 316th and University Road to east to 465th and south to the substation. The route of the proposed transmission line requires that the city acquire several overhang easements from 4 property owners, and the transmission line would essentially be constructed as close as possible to the property line with the overhang easement, allowing the city to enter private property to work on the transmission line as necessary. This easement on hand right now would actually be for the property directly north of the proposed substation. All of the other easements have been acquired by the city and were approved by the City Council at the February 16th meeting. The next item on the agenda would actually be amending those easements that were previously acquired by the city on the 16th of February. The electric transmission line easements are included in the electric distribution fund as part of the electric transmission line project. Administration recommends approval of the transmission line easement resolution that authorizes the mayor and finance officer to execute the easements and the payment of the amount listed.
Thank you, Jose. This is a public hearing. Is there any comment or question from anyone in the audience on this item? Seeing none, council? No?
Can you say the amount listed? What is that amount?
The amount listed on the resolution is $1,600.
Okay, oh, it's on the back, okay. I wasn't seeing it right away. Thank you. I move.
Motion and second to approve the easement. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item B, resolution amending the resolution approving easements along 316th Street and 465th Avenue for transmission line to proposed substation to be located on Lot 1, Block 1, Hikes Edition. Again, Jose, please.
Thank you. As I mentioned on the previous agenda item, this resolution right here would be amending the other 4, I guess 4, yeah, the other easements, I guess. There's 4 easements, just one of them is permanent and the other 3 are overhang easements. But regardless, at that meeting, the original meeting that approved these easements, the price per pole for an overhang easement was $300 per pole. And $500 per pole for the pole easement, where the actual pole is in private property. The recent agreement with the Heminger Trust and the city actually agreed to pay more for the overhang easements. So in order to be fair to all property owners, staff is proposing that the same rate be applied to the previous approved easements. The new cost for the easement would be $400 per pole for the overhang easements and $675 per pole for the pole easements. The change would increase the total cost of the project from $7,700 to $10,275, or an increase of $2,575. Again, the money for this item would be in the electric distribution fund. With all that being said, administration recommends approving the resolution, amending the resolution that authorizes the mayor and finance officer to execute the payment of the amount listed.
Thank you, Jose. Any comments or questions from the council? From the audience? Seeing none, turn it to the council. A motion and second to approve the resolution. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. We have no bid openings tonight, so we'll turn to John. Oh, okay. I was trying here. I don't even know who's playing, so I'm sorry. Item C, permit for consumption but not sale for greening Vermillion at 202 Washington Street on October 22nd, 2016 from 6 to 9 p.m. Mike, please.
Morgan Carnes, on behalf of Greening Vermillion, has requested permit to consume but not sell alcoholic beverages on property owned by a nonprofit corporation for an Art of Sustainability event at the Vermillion Area Arts Council on October 22nd, 2016 from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. A copy of the request, along with a letter from the president of the Arts Council recognizing that they are aware of the event, are included in the packet. State statute provides the governing body of the municipality may permit the consumption but not sale of alcoholic beverages on property that's either owned by the public or a nonprofit corporation. The Vermillion Area Arts Council is a nonprofit corporation. Administration would recommend approval of the special permit unless something is brought up at the public hearing otherwise. And I think Morgan is available if we have questions. No.
Anyone in the audience that has a comment or question about this permit? Seeing none, turn to the council. A motion and to approve the permit for consumption but not sale for Green Vermillion at 202 Washington Street, October 22, 2016, from 6 to 9 p.m. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Now, yeah.
If you're ready.
Okay. Okay, next item. We have no bid openings, and so our next item is the city manager's report. John?
Thank you. Just a reminder, the police department is conducting their community survey. If you did receive a postcard inviting you to participate, we'd ask that people complete that survey online, or we do have some paper copies that are available to do that as soon as possible so they can wrap up that survey. Just a reminder, at the last council meeting it was noted, but the pod exercise, the point of distribution? Of dispensing, okay. Stick with pod. The pod exercise for our community is this Thursday, October 20th, and that is from noon to 2 p.m. at the Sanford Coyote Sports Center. It's a free event and the public is invited to participate. This exercise will help evaluate how our point of dispensing for Clay County functions. This is just a drill, but it's a great way to help the community and our county test this opportunity. The Police Department, Emergency Communications, they're hosting their annual open house on Saturday, October 29th. That's from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. You're welcome to wear costumes as an opportunity to trick or treat at the various informational stations in the building, and they typically have hot dogs, chips, and a drink that will be provided to all attendees. Included in your council packet was a raffle notification. The Friends of the NRA are selling $20 tickets until November 5th of this year. The prize is a para-ordnance limited edition 2-gun matching set that's valued at $1,500. Proceeds from the raffle will be used to help promote shooting sports, and as noted, the drawing will take place at their event on November 5th. And then finally, just a reminder that political signs are not to be placed in the public right-of-way, which is generally defined as the area between the curb and the sidewalk.
Thank you, John. Any questions for our city manager? Okay. Move on then to invoices payable. Any comments or questions for Mike?
Second.
Motion and second to pay the first item. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. I'll recuse myself on that, Mike.
Move we pay item 2. Second.
Motion and second to pay item 2. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Are we going to do one at a time here now?
Move we pay the rest of the bills. Second.
Motion second to pay the rest of our bills. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. There is no consensus agenda, Steve. Motion is second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.